Hey everyone, John Doyle from OptixEQ, and today I want to take a look at the early double at Churchill races 1 and 2 on Wednesday, September the 27th. Use a little plot, use a little notes, see what we can do. First of all, shout out to the NTRA. Thank you very much. They sent me a cap. I guess it's the 25th anniversary of the NHC handicapping contest challenge championship, and each former champion got the hat. So thank you. It fits nice. They even actually have my name on it here somewhere. I think it's there. So thanks for that. Okay, so let's look at race 1. It's an interesting race. It's non-winners 2 lifetime. And first of all, let's start with the plot. Let's start with the header, like we always do. So we got a plot fit of yellow. So that's fairly average predictability. So that's okay. Contention is average, sun, and then speed rating is very low. So not expecting a ton of pace in this race. And you can see that by looking at the run styles. You have only one horse under the EEP banner, and the rest of them are either P, and then we have one C. So, this is great to have this tool, because this is not saying that you're just going to say, okay, I got this tool, I'm going to pick the horse that's a square in quadrant 1. That's not the purpose of this tool. Its purpose is to take some of the grunge out so you can look at this more analytically. And you can interpret it in lots of different ways, not one way to interpret this. So the one way I would look at this is you have a race where, you have horses with many of the same run style. And what potentially can happen is they can bunch up. And one scenario could be, if you have like a lone closer, a horse that's stress-free in the back of the pack, there's a potential you can swoop the field. And so sometimes you see that with these bunched run style, the horses. Okay, you can see in the standard plot, they're very bunched up here. You got a 4 horse that's kind of a lone closer, I would say. And there's a scenario where this horse could swoop the field. Now, if the speed rating was higher, okay, I would prefer that kind of scenario. But since it's so low, there's a scenario where 1 or 2 of these horses could dominate the early pace and make it really difficult for every other horse. So that's the second scenario. When I look at that, 2 horses kind of are interesting to me. One is the 5, because he's up here and he's a long shot, and I'll get into him a little bit. Even though he kind of looks like the biggest circle here on standard, there's a reason for that. But he's the highest horse on the second call, and he's 12-1. So to me, that's interesting. The other interesting horse is the number 2 horse, because his run style is E. So is his recent form hidden? Is he really in E? Can he control the pace? So, because that could be the other scenario where, either he gets out there by himself, or him or the 5 get out there and kind of dictate a reasonable pace, because there's no real pace in the race, and they just go on with it. So lots of different things to play. Price has got to be your factor. But the one thing that the plot's great at is, I think, eliminating a couple of horses in this race, and that would be the 1 and 6. You see there red under the banner P. So that means that their kind of style is to press and to go on with it. But since they're below, right, the other runner, the others, horses that are going to be forwardly placed, they're going to have to make up ground. And the fact that they're circles doesn't give me any confidence they're going to make up ground. You can see how low the 1 on surface and distance, the 1 is down on the y-axis. So to me, those are negative. They're labeled that way, red. I think less than 5% of the time those horses win the race like this. So it's just what we're saying with RPM is we're trying to map the run style to the way they plot. So is it a match or not a match? In this case, 1 and 6 aren't a match. So my focus is going to be seeing who can I key. Is the 4 horse that I want to eliminate or not? He's the favorite. I don't know what I'm going to do with him. But, is the 5 a viable candidate? Do I want to key around him using, the 2, 3, the horses that are kind of left? And that's the way I'll look at this race. So I want to start with the 2, and then go to the 4, and then go to the horse that was a little bit interesting was the 5. All right, so let's start with the 2. This horse ran well last time, pretty well. I mean, he ran a speed figure that's comparable here, a little bit below average Optix Fig range, but the Optix Fig range is actually high in this race. And so I think he ran a race that was close to par for this level. The problem is this note projection of a drop. I don't know where they're going to drop him. I mean, they'll have to move him out of well, I guess he can go down to 10,000 level, but I don't know if there's much difference there. But the one thing notice about this horse is when this horse is forwardly placed, he runs, the gelding runs okay, right? So this is a race where he's forwardly placed. His maiden win was forwardly placed. Now, he did get an easy lead, and he ended up, kind of drifting at the end, no line. And, it turned out to be a hard race, and it took him a long time to recover from that race. But, you get the idea that if this horse is forward and he can get forward, maybe he can contend. His recent form was that, dirt race, which was okay. He had 2 turf races, so that's not really his gig. So I'm not sure, even though you could see the good thing about this horse, he's actually got improving fig, kind of doing well. The other thing about this horse is he did run okay at Churchill in the past, at least in that one race. I think his 2/3 came at Churchill. So he's kind of a contender, probably better for underneath, but, he is a contender in this race. And what more could you say about these horses in this race, right? I mean, still, you got to remember who you're dealing with. Let's look at the 4. He's going to be the favorite. Here's the thing about this horse. He just ran a huge race at Saratoga. I mean, his highest optics fig by far. Last time he ran a big figure like this, he kind of regressed. That was on his maiden win. He's going to be coming from off the pace. I just worry about the regression, because it seems like every time this horse runs at 80 something, we get regression afterwards. He's been kind of like mainly on the turf for the most part, other than this kind of recent switch. Just seemed like with this form cycle, when he came back off of this form cycle, he kind of switched to dirt. He's kind of facing a little bit softer company, ran good. I mean, obviously the Saratoga race, he was running against better, made a kind of a move. It's just, again, it's Diodoro kind of claimed him just prior to that race. Does he have another move forward, or does he regress like he has in the past? Your guess is as good as mine. It could set up for him, but it's not a horse I want to take in this scenario at a short price either. Just kind of knowing the class level and his run style. The one horse I thought was intriguing in this race was Lazarus. Kind of really off a long layoff, going 8 furlongs on turf. I mean, if you looked at his previous race going long on turf or synthetic, it wasn't good. I mean, just not what he wants to do. Doesn't look like it. And in all 3 races, he was running against better horses, right? So he gets the drop. It's a big drop. And if you just kind of single out his dirt sprints, they're pretty good. There's 2 of them. One, and when he broke his maiden against Cheaper on this track, he ran a 92. Okay. And then the 73 was the allowance against an Ellis. I mean, that race was a 15-day layoff, and he kind of was up close, and then he kind of faded in that race. But still, it's not a terrible race when you compare it to this field. Again, it was in better company. And then he got the raise up in his last race. You kind of really could ignore, right? So if you can kind of just ignore some of these turf and route races, his form looks a lot better sprinting. And I think that's kind of reflected in the plot. If you go back to the plot, you remember he didn't plot that nicely on standard, but much better on surface and distance. I think this horse, is worth a shot, worth a look at. I mean, obviously, if you can ever duplicate that effort on Churchill dirt that he did when he broke his maiden back, I guess it was in May. Well, that's not too far ago, long ago. And, why not? He's worth a shot, gets Bejarano back. That was the person who was on him that day. So, I think it's a long shot worth a look at a crummy race. Okay. So again, reiterating the kind of summary of this race, from a plot perspective, we're going to eliminate the 1 and 6. We're going to figure out post time what we're going to do with the 4, but I think we're going to try to key the 5 with those other remaining horses in some kind of exotics. Probably looking at the trifecta pool for this race, but that's race 1. And if you're playing the doubles, maybe you want to play the 2 and the 5 and play against the 4 in leg 1. I'm going to race 2 now. We're going to do a maiden claimer. It's a kind of low level race, but hey, these low level races on the cards, you could do okay on. They're just got to kind of figure them out. Plot fit is green in this one. That's good. Contention is a snowflake. That's light. Speed rating is kind of below average, a little bit below average. So, typically in this kind of scenario, you always want to kind of favor the quadrant 1 horses. So we have 4 and 7, 6, a little bit 5, and then 6 and 7 on here. So I'm going to, look at those horses. I want to look at 4, 5, 6, and 7, because I just think they're going to have a tactical edge in the pace. And so let's go to start with the 4. This is a horse that's coming off a long layoff. He's come off layoffs before, and he hasn't run all that well. This is going to be the first time on dirt. I'm just not something I can get awfully excited about. Now he's running against 30,000, but that's at Turfway. This is Churchill. He's running against maiden specials, and maybe this is a little bit of a class drop, but he was kind of going off form a little bit before the layoff. I'm going to take a wait and see on him. 5 is Mr. Speaker. This horse is kind of a little bit interesting. His first dirt race wasn't bad. It was a 69. There may be some upside on this horse. You can notice the line. He was against the flow, got scared, intimidated, I assume, got shuffled back. So he had some trouble, got kicked back and then closed. So this is a horse that you might want to take a little bit extended look at. He's 6-1 in the morning line. Maybe if he can move up on that second race on dirt, why not? That was a pretty good effort. And I don't know that particular day, but that most of that meet, that Ellis Park is tough to close in on. So maybe get him a little bit of an upgrade there. The number 6, Storm Haven. This is an interesting horse because I think he's another horse that probably competes if he can just cross out that last race. And you see the note there, the keyword note, no handle. He wasn't handling the track. He was a good track at Ellis Park that day. So if you can kind of dismiss that race, I mean, this is a horse that just competed, came race off the 11th spring at maiden 50 level at Churchill and ran a decent B-. So he kind of fit at that level. They dropped him in his first race at Ellis. Didn't really improve. Kind of went just number wise, kind of went sideways. And then if you can kind of just ignore the race weight in handle, let's just take a look and see if from a work perspective of this horse did any works since they're Mr. Speaker. He's had 1 work over the track. I give him a look. I mean, I just think that this horse might have a little bit more upside. And if you can get past that horse, that's going to help in your price too. I guess he's 8-1. So we're looking at so far 6 and 8-1, and then the 7 was the last one we thought might have a chance. Another layoff horse, layoff and then a drop. Probably going to need a race 2. Maybe it's more of an emerald horse based on the connections and so forth. Did some running at Oaklawn. I'm probably going to give him. I'm going to kind of try to stick with the 5 and the 6 in those in race 2. Again, from a pace perspective, these are horses that could be forwardly placed and could be finishing late, and also, their form has an advantage over some of these others who are coming off races or what have you. So, for me, it's 5 and 6 in leg 2. And that's it. So if you're going to check us out this weekend, by the way, we're going to be doing Optics Focus for the big stakes races. Haven't decided yet which race is going to look for the best ones, but we got a lot of stakes races from across the country and New York and California and Kentucky. So check that out. And again, you can check us out on Twitter at OptixEQ. Thanks again. And if you have any questions, let us know. We're at our website, OptixEQ.com. And thanks for listening.